Now, I want to get to some things Sophie Cunningham addressed in the media. Okay. And I thought she was spot on about a lot of this stuff and everybody running around playing victim, acting like the world's coming to an end. Listen, man, play ball, get off the internet then, and just lock in.
Stephanie White is getting exactly what she wanted tonight, and that should terrify every single person who cares about Caitlin Clark's future with the Indiana Fever. With Clark ruled out injured for tonight's matchup against the Las Vegas Aces, Stephanie White gets to run her preferred offense, the Kelsey Mitchell isolation show, the ball-pounding, shot-jacking Harlem Globetrotter system that pushed the league's most dominant offensive engine to the sidelines all season long. For months, Caitlin Clark has been forced to watch her coach prioritize a style of basketball that mathematically, strategically, and competitively makes zero sense when you have the most efficient playmaker in the WNBA on your roster. But now, with Clark sidelined, Stephanie White doesn't have to pretend anymore. She doesn't have to answer the uncomfortable questions. She doesn't have to justify why the player who generates the most total points per game in the entire league keeps getting marginalized in crunch time. Tonight, she gets her wish. The Kelsey Mitchell show. No Caitlin Clark to complicate the narrative, and the Indiana Fever are about to pay the price in Las Vegas. Welcome back. This is Channel Name, and today we are exposing the absolute, undeniable pattern that Stephanie White has been running all season, and documenting exactly why tonight's game against the Aces is going to be a brutal, cinematic demonstration of everything that is wrong with this franchise's treatment of Caitlin Clark. Let me be entirely clear with you before we go any further. This is not about one game. This is not about one injury. This is about a head coach who has spent an entire season systematically undermining the most transformational player in WNBA history. And tonight, with Caitlin Clark conveniently out of the lineup, Stephanie White gets to operate without scrutiny. She gets to run her archaic, isolation-heavy offense without having to explain why the league's best facilitator is standing in the corner. She gets to let Kelsey Mitchell pound the ball for 35 seconds every possession without anyone asking why the Fever's offensive rating craters when Clark sits. And she gets to lose to the Las Vegas Aces, a team loaded with Kennedy Carter, Chelsea Gray, Jackie Young, Jewel Lloyd, Adja Wilson, and Kaya Stokes, while the national media gives her a pass because Caitlin wasn't available. I have been documenting this for months, and I am telling you tonight is the clearest proof yet that Stephanie White's vision for this team does not include Caitlin Clark as the centerpiece. It includes Kelsey Mitchell as the primary option, Aliyah Boston as the secondary option, and Caitlin Clark as a role player who occasionally gets to touch the ball when the shot clock is winding down. That is not coaching. That is sabotage. Before I break down the tactical nightmare that is about to unfold in Las Vegas tonight, I need to walk you through the stakes of this game, because what happens tonight is going to set the tone for the rest of the Fever season, and potentially for Caitlin Clark's future with this franchise. The Indiana Fever are heading into Las Vegas to face a team that, even without Adja Wilson, and we still don't know if she's playing, has more offensive firepower, more defensive versatility, and more coaching competence than Indiana can match. Kaya Stokes just dropped 29 points and 8 rebounds in the Aces last game, 29 and 8. In the absence of Adja Wilson, she stepped up and dominated. You still have Jackie Young averaging 16 and 7. You have Kennedy Carter coming off the bench averaging 14. Chelsea Gray is giving you 13 and 7 as a starter. Jewel Lloyd is knocking down threes and running the floor. This is a team with options. Multiple options. If one player has an off night, another one can explode for 25. That is what depth looks like. That is what a well-constructed roster looks like. Now compare that to the Indiana Fever without Caitlin Clark. Outside of Kelsey Mitchell and Aliyah Boston, who do they have? Sophie Cunningham can get hot from 3, but the Aces are not going to let her operate freely. Nalissa Smith and Temi Fagbenel are solid, but neither one is a go-to scorer who can create their own shot in crunch time. The Fever's offensive engine is gone. The player who generates the most total points per game in the league, through her own scoring, her assists, and the gravity she creates, is not on the floor. And Stephanie White's response is to run the exact same offense she's been trying to force all season. Give Kelsey Mitchell the ball, let her dribble for 30 seconds, and hope she makes a contested jumper. That is not a game plan, that is a prayer. Here is what the Fever need to do to have any chance tonight. Number 1, they need to control the game defensively. They need to turn this into an ugly, possession-for-possession grind where every bucket is contested and every possession matters. Stephanie White does well in these underdog situations when she can bog the game down, make it unwatchable, and keep the score low enough that 1 or 2 big shots can swing the outcome. If the Fever can force the Aces into a half-court game and keep the pace slow, they have a chance. A small chance, but a chance. Number 2, Kelsey Mitchell is going to have the game of her life. Not a 6-for-20 shooting night, not an 8-for-21 night. An efficient, high-volume, all-star level performance. She is going to need 25-plus points on good shooting. And she is going to need to do it without turning the ball over. Because the Aces have the personnel to switch everything, trap the ball, and force uncomfortable decisions. If Kelsey Mitchell is not making shots, this game is over by halftime. Number 3, Aliyah Boston is going to have to dominate in the paint. She's going up against Kaya Stokes, who just dropped 29-8 and is playing with supreme confidence right now. Boston is going to need to establish position early, finish through contact, and control the glass on both ends. If she gets into foul trouble or goes passive, the Fever lose their only other reliable scoring option. And number 4, somebody off the bench is going to have to step up. Sophie Cunningham is going to need a big night. Nalissa Smith is going to need a big night.
Now, I want to get to some things Sophie Cunningham addressed in the media, okay? And I thought she was spot on about a lot of this stuff and everybody running around playing victim, acting like the world's coming to an end. Listen, man, play ball, get off the internet then, and just lock in.
Somebody is going to have to give the Fever 12 to 15 points that they were not expecting. Because without Caitlin Clark, there is no margin for error. Every possession matters. Every defensive stop matters. And if the role players do not show up, the aces are going to run them out of the building. But here is the part that nobody on television is going to say out loud, and this is the part that I need every single person watching this video to sit with for a second. Stephanie White is going into this game with a built-in excuse. Caitlin Clark is out. The national media is going to give her a pass. The front office is going to give her a pass. And when the Fever lose tonight, and I believe they are going to lose tonight, Stephanie White is going to stand at the podium and say, "We competed hard, but we were missing our best player." And everyone is going to nod and move on. But that narrative is fraudulent. It is deliberately incomplete. And it ignores the months of evidence showing that Stephanie White has been marginalizing Caitlin Clark even when she was healthy and available. This is not a coach who has been maximizing Clark's talent and suddenly lost her best weapon. This is a coach who has been trying to minimize Clark's role all season long. And tonight she finally gets to operate without the inconvenience of having to answer questions about why the league's best playmaker is not running the offense. I made a video 3 weeks ago breaking down the specific rotations where Stephanie White pulled Caitlin Clark in crunch time to give Kelsey Mitchell more isolation possessions. I made a video last week documenting how the Fever's offensive rating drops off a cliff when Clark sits, and how Stephanie White continues to run lineups that ignore that data. And tonight, we are going to see the logical conclusion of that philosophy. The Kelsey Mitchell show, no Caitlin Clark, and a loss to a superior team that exposes everything wrong with Stephanie White's vision for this franchise. The Las Vegas Aces are going to win this game. I believe that. I am picking the Aces. And I know that is going to make some of you mad. But I need you to understand why I am making that pick. It is not because I do not believe in the Fever's talent. It is because I do not believe in their coaching. Stephanie White is going to get out-coached tonight by Becky Hammon. The Aces have the better coach. They have the better roster. They have more options, more depth, and more tactical flexibility. And unless Kelsey Mitchell and Aliyah Boston both have career nights, the Fever are going to get dominated. Now, before I get into the tactical breakdowns and the 5 predictions I am staking for the rest of the Fever season, I need you to hear something that Sophie Cunningham said recently in a media session. Because what she said perfectly captures the insanity of how this franchise has been handling Caitlin Clark's situation all year long. Sophie was asked about the noise surrounding the team, the criticism, the constant scrutiny, and her response was spot on. She basically said, "If you cannot handle the attention, get off the internet and lock in," and she is absolutely right. But here is the part that should make every Fever fan furious. The noise exists because the coaching decisions do not make sense. The scrutiny exists because Stephanie White keeps making the same mistakes over and over again. And the criticism exists because Caitlin Clark, the most popular, most talented, most impactful player in the WNBA, keeps getting marginalized by a coach who refuses to build the offense around her. Sophie Cunningham addressed the media recently, and I want you to hear exactly what she said, because this is the part that proves my point.